30 feet tall.
Superman, who can change... Where is it? Where's it?
Superman is a 1948 film serial released by Columbia Pictures, directed by Spencer Gordon Bennett and Thomas Carr. The serial consists of 15 chapters, each approximately 15 minutes long, and follows the adventures of Superman, who battles the villainous Spider Lady and her gang of henchmen. The plot of the serial begins with Lois Lane and Clark Kent investigating a mysterious plane crash. They soon discover that the plane was carrying a valuable piece of scientific equipment that could be used to create a deadly weapon. The trail leads them to the Spider Lady, a criminal mastermind who is determined to use the weapon to take over the world. Superman, played by Kirk Alyn, is the only one who can stop the Spider Lady and her gang. With his super strength, speed, and invulnerability, Superman fights his way through various obstacles and challenges to uncover the Spider Lady's plan and put a stop to it. The cast also includes Noelle Neal as Lois Lane, Tommy Bond as Jimmy Olsen, and Carol Foreman as the Spider Lady. Superman was well received by audiences and is considered a classic of the serial genre. It was followed by a sequel, Atom Man vs. Superman, in 1950. Kirk Alyn returned as Superman, with Lyle Talbot as the villainous Atom Man. Superman 1950 is a 15-part black-and-white movie serial produced by Columbia Pictures. It was one of the earliest live-action adaptations of the Superman comic book character and starred Kirk Alyn as Superman, Clark Kent and Noelle Neal as Lois Lane. The plot of the movie revolves around Superman's efforts to stop a mad scientist named Drive Vulcan from taking over the world with his deadly inventions. Along the way, Superman must face a variety of obstacles and villains, including a mysterious hooded figure known as the Scarf. The movie features many of the classic elements of the Superman mythos, including Superman's secret identity as Clark Kent, his love interest Lois Lane, and his arch-nemesis Lex Luthor, who appears only briefly in the final chapter. The special effects and action sequences in the movie were state-of-the-art for their time, although by modern standards they may seem somewhat primitive. Superman 1950 was a popular and influential film in its day, and it helped to establish many of the conventions and tropes of the superhero genre that are still used in movies and comics today. It has since become a cult classic among fans of classic serials and superhero movies. Superman 1978 is a superhero film directed by Richard Donner and starring Christopher Reeve as the titular character. The film is widely regarded as a classic and is considered by many to be one of the greatest superhero movies of all time. The movie tells the origin story of Superman, from his birth on the planet Krypton to his arrival on Earth and eventual adoption by the Kents. As an adult, Superman assumes his dual identity as Clark Kent, a mild-mannered reporter for the Daily Planet, and battles against the evil genius Lex Luthor, who plans to destroy the state of California. The film's cast includes Margot Kidder as Lois Lane, Gene Hackman as Lex Luthor, Marlon Brando as Jor-El, Superman's father, and Ned Beatty as Otis Luthor's bumbling assistant. The movie also features a memorable score by John Williams, which includes the iconic Superman theme. Superman 1978 was praised for its faithfulness to the source material and its innovative special effects, which included groundbreaking wirework and miniature photography. Superman 2 is a 1980 superhero film directed by Richard Lester and the second installment in the original Superman film series, following 1978's Superman. The film stars Christopher Reeve as Superman Clark Kent, Margot Kidder as Lois Lane, and Gene Hackman as Lex Luthor, reprising their roles from the first film. The plot of Superman 2 picks up where the first film left off, with Superman having revealed his true identity to Lois Lane and having defeated Lex Luthor's evil plan to detonate a nuclear bomb in California. However, three criminals from Krypton, General Zod, Ursa, and Non, who were exiled to the Phantom Zone by Jor-El, Superman's father, are accidentally released and come to Earth seeking revenge on Superman. The film features a blend of action, drama, and romance, as Superman must face off against the Kryptonian villains while also trying to maintain his relationship with Lois Lane. The film also introduces new characters, such as Perry White, played by Jackie Cooper, and Jimmy Olsen, played by Mark McClure. Superman 3 is a superhero film directed by Richard Lester and released in 1983. The film is the third installment in the original Superman film series and stars Christopher Reeve as Superman Clark Kent, along with Richard Pryor, Annette O'Toole, and Robert Vaughn in supporting roles. In the film, Superman is faced with a new enemy, a computer programmer named Gus Gorman, played by Richard Pryor, who has been hired by a corrupt businessman named Ross Webster, played by Robert Vaughn. Together, they plan to take over the world's computer systems and use them for their own gain. The film also explores the relationship between Superman and his alter ego, Clark Kent, as well as introducing a love interest for Clark in the form of Lana Lang, played by Annette O'Toole. The film's comedic elements are also highlighted through Pryor's performance as Gorman. Despite being a financial success, Superman 3 was not as well received critically as its predecessors. The film's emphasis on comedy and the addition of new characters such as Gorman were criticized for detracting from the series' serious tone and the strength of the original characters. Superman 4: The Quest for Peace. This film is the fourth installment in the Superman film series and was directed by Sidney J. Furie. In the movie, Superman, played by Christopher Reeve, becomes concerned about the proliferation of nuclear weapons around the world and decides to rid the world of all nuclear weapons. He takes all of the nuclear weapons and throws them into the sun, but this causes the creation of a new villain named Nuclear Man, played by Mark Pillow. Nuclear Man has powers similar to Superman's and sets out to destroy him and take over the world. Meanwhile, Superman must also deal with a Daily Planet newspaper takeover attempt by a rival media mogul named David Warfield, played by Sam Wanamaker. The film was not well received by critics or audiences and is generally considered to be one of the weaker entries in the Superman film series. It was also a commercial disappointment, leading to the cancellation of future sequels. However, Christopher Reeve's performance as Superman was still praised by some critics. Lois and Clark: The New Adventures of Superman was a popular American television series that aired from 1993 to 1997. The show starred Dean Cain as Clark Kent, Superman, and Terry Hatcher as Lois Lane, and was produced by Warner Brothers Television. The series focused on the romantic relationship between Lois Lane and Clark Kent, as well as the various adventures and challenges that they faced as investigative reporters for the Daily Planet. In addition to their work as reporters, Clark also battled against various villains as Superman, using his superhuman abilities to protect the citizens of Metropolis. The show was praised for its innovative take on the Superman character, focusing more on the human side of the superhero and his relationships with others, rather than just on action and special effects. The chemistry between Cain and Hatcher was a highlight of the show, and their on-screen romance was a major draw for audiences. Lois and Clark: The New Adventures of Superman was also notable for its humor and lighthearted tone, which set it apart from darker superhero shows of the time. In 2006, Superman Returns is a superhero film directed by Bryan Singer and starring Brandon Routh as Superman, Clark Kent, Kate Bosworth as Lois Lane, and Kevin Spacey as Lex Luthor. It is a sequel to the original Superman film series, picking up after the events of Superman 2, 1980, and ignoring the subsequent films. In the film, Superman returns to Earth after a 5-year absence and finds that much has changed in his absence, including the fact that Lois Lane has moved on with her life and has a son. Meanwhile, Lex Luthor hatches a plan to use a powerful crystal to create a new continent and destroy much of North America in the process. Superman Returns received mixed reviews from critics, with some praising the performances and visuals but criticizing the pacing and lack of action. It was also a disappointment at the box office, failing to recoup its production budget and resulting in the cancellation of planned sequels. Overall, Superman Returns is considered by some to be a flawed but interesting entry in the Superman film franchise, with a focus on character development and themes of isolation and responsibility. The Superman movie released in 2013 is called Man of Steel. It was directed by Zack Snyder and produced by Christopher Nolan, and it starred Henry Cavill as Superman, Clark Kent, Amy Adams as Lois Lane, and Michael Shannon as General Zod. The movie follows the origin story of Superman, beginning with his birth on the planet Krypton and his eventual journey to Earth as a baby. Clark Kent grows up in Kansas with his adoptive parents and struggles with his extraordinary abilities, feeling like an outsider among humans. As an adult, he eventually discovers his true identity as an alien and takes on the mantle of Superman to protect Earth from threats. The main antagonist of the film is General Zod, a former Kryptonian general who seeks to take over Earth and create a new Krypton. Superman must use his powers and abilities to stop Zod and save humanity. Man of Steel received mixed reviews from critics and audiences, with some praising its action and visual effects while others criticized its dark tone and characterization of Superman. Despite this, the movie was a box office success and paved the way for a series of DC Comics films known as the DC Extended Universe.